Hello, everybody. This is Dr. McGuire with another episode of Perspective. As you know, this is a production of Higher Education Assist. And today I think it is a really cool topic where I have three individuals who are parents, and they had transitioned with their child from high school to college. And I know a lot of people out there that are going through this or will go through it shortly have a lot of unknown questions. And I thought it was best to bring these folks on to talk about their experiences to try to pay it forward so we could all get a different perspective. I want to thank Mathnasium.com for their support over this past year. They are a tutoring company. So if you're interested in giving your kid additional support regarding tutoring, please go visit their website. They are a great organization. So with that, let me start with the introductions. We have Melissa, Marge, and Brian. How are you guys?
Good.
All right.
Good. Thanks for joining the session. So I want to start off, again, since you've been through it already, and some of you a couple of times. Let's start out with junior or senior year with your child. What did that look like in terms of them thinking about college, or when did their juices started to ramp up, when or if they wanted to go to college? Go ahead, Melissa.
So my daughter Cassidy started everything in her junior year. So the transitioning, starting a junior year, I felt was a really good thing. I mean, they did start talking about it in freshman year, but juniors, when they started talking about getting their SATs up, getting scores in, start looking at colleges and looking at finances. And they actually had a prep class in their junior year for college. It was a college prep course that the school required all the kids to go through. So I thought that was a great start.
Okay. Ryan?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had 6 kids that we had to do FAFSA for, so I would probably say 3 were juniors, and the other 3 didn't wait until their senior year to figure out where they wanted to go, and then just did the elimination process on, site visits and such.
Okay, Marge?
Junior year, doing the site visits, and yeah. I had one that was undecided, one that was adamant where she was going in, and one that basically was accepted everywhere and kind of took her time.
Okay.
Yeah, but all that began in junior.
Well, let me ask you this. So, okay. Every school is different, of course, and the staff, right? The guidance department is different. Would you say your student, college kid to be, was prepared? Did your guidance department set yourself, you and your child up for success, you think?
Myself?
And if not, why?
No, I don't think they did. I don't think they were very much involved at all. Everything was just basically pushing for that the SAT and to get SAT prep. My third daughter was a good student, but her SAT score was not as high as my previous daughters. So, it was basically, oh, well, kind of not look at these schools, just do these because you're sure in. And that was basically about it. No time involved, no planning, nothing like that.
So,
which was a little disheartening as a parent when you have these services available.
So, right. So you rely on them to guide you. So how did you navigate that? Did you know, right? Because what you're being told is what maybe you should do.
Well, yeah, my first one was really hard. So my first one, she was the first one from my side of the family to go to college. My husband's side all went to college. So for that, it was our guinea pig. She was our guinea pig. So there was no guidance from the school, no anything. So it was really just kind of trying to figure out what she was interested in. and trying to find schools that had majors
Mhm.
that she, was interested in, and then doing the applying process. But again, it was just all like
Okay,
basically on us.
yeah. Brian?
Well, with my situation, I had 4 kids go to one school and 2 go to another high school. So I would say that both didn't do what I thought that they would that they could do for the kids. They did try to have like evening classes for parents just to try to get them prepped and what forms to fill out. But there were just so many questions that Camden County would come to the school and just try to help them out, and it just didn't. It seemed like the parents had way too many questions for them to answer in the allotted time that they had. So we just
Right,
kind of had to. I mean, literally,
right.
we would fill out the FAFSA for the first one and see if it came back rejected
Mhm.
or come back with it passed or what have you. Even with mine, I just happened to I messed up my birth date, something simple, and they just kept rejecting it until
Hmm.
till somebody finally said, check all the information. Like, no offense, you would think you put in your own birthday, right? But things do happen. So,
So
but
that was
I
on the
mean,
FAFSA, right?
yeah, on the FAFSA. But for the schools, they attempted to do a good job, but I just don't think that they did a good enough job with connecting with the
Right. So
colleges that had people
what
come
would
out.
be your, so looking back, what would you do differently?
Send them to tech schools.
There you go. Okay. Well,
To be honest with
I
you.
want to get to that in a second. I want to get to
Okay.
that in a second, but go ahead, Melissa.
The school counselors, they actually only chimed in when the students really needed them. But again, I feel that the high school really did show the kids step by step exactly where they had to go, what they had to do. I felt that the class was really, really well rounded for the kids. And then when they had more questions or more detailed questions and about colleges and processes, then they made their appointments with their counselors, and our counselors were great. I really didn't have any complaints about the school and how they prepared the kids.
Okay. So I see some variation in schools, right? As I said before. Here's something I'm curious about. So I always look at it when I'm talking to somebody, what your projected return on investment is, right? If you're a parent and I'm sure schools don't do it, but enough of the schools, what would be, I'm just saying this in general, your return on investment? If I'm a kid, maybe I should go to college just because so on and so forth. I don't know what my major is going to be. And we know that the declaration of a major is not till later. But if you're going just to skate by to get that paper and you're paying all that money, the question is, what's going to be your return on investment when you add up all those loans and what have you? And Marge, I know you and I talked about before the cost of living at school. There's no right or wrong, but the argument is, I always say, well, give me a reason why your kid, if it's in, a vicinity of, an hour, I'm just picking out a time of your house, that may not be the best spending of your money. I don't know, but so just chime on that real quick, you guys. And so,
Can I
did
say
your
something?
kids look at careers? Yeah.
So my daughter and her career, if she had picked a simpler, I guess you can say, major, I totally would have her go straight to community college, get all those nitty gritties out of the way, and then apply to the university, because her university is extremely expensive. But being that it's so particular, she has to go there. And
Right.
another part of the high school that I liked is that they have the college prep courses and all the prereqs that they can do there to get that out of the way, which also helps in cost. But if your school isn't doing that, I would totally recommend a community college, get all the nitty gritty out of the way, and then hop on board. Some colleges applaud that, some colleges don't. So one of the colleges that we were looking at, we're not accepting some of the classes and saying that if they wanted to go into this major, they have to do a certain amount of years. If they came in halfway through, they would have to tack on another year. So it depends on the college and depends on your path and whatnot. But if I totally could have had my daughter take care of other things, I totally would have had her start out at community college.
Go ahead, Marge.
So I'm in a different boat. So I have 3 kids that gone through college right now.
Mhm.
So my first was a total, again, guinea pig. We wanted to give her the best of everything. And we had no way of knowing
Sure.
financially what to do because you're a guinea pig. You go through these loan processes, you do all this stuff. So we wanted to give her the best experience. She lived off of, we lived in New Jersey. She went to school in PA, and she lived on campus and apartments and all that, had the whole college thing. Second one, I was blessed, full ride. Can't even count her into the equation. But the third one, it was really hard because she is in an in-state technically school, 2 hours away. And we went back and forth with that financially. Should she take that additional expense on to, basically live in a dorm and then pay an additional 15, 16,000 a year on that. I think it depends on what each one wants. My daughter was adamant. The loan will be in her name. She's going to pay it. That's what she wants as an experience. So I guess it really depends on the kid. I'm kind of glad because it is a 2-hour drive, but she's doing good.
Yeah. Brian? Good.
Well, all my kids played sports, so in college. So they were always in sports, and 2 of them, they were in student council in college. So I think for them being on campus, definitely they needed to, even though it was less than 30 miles away, but it was out of state. So
Yeah.
for that part, if you were to commute, then they all took the responsibility, and they all know that they have to pay the loan back for staying on campus. So, and everybody was fine with that.
Experience of being on your own as opposed to.
So,
Right. Okay. So did your kids have any influences growing up? Either somebody who went to college or somebody who was a role model, not necessarily guided them, but they, used them as a sounding board. And it could be you. I don't know.
it's me. I'm good. I'll start off. It's me because I'm the only one that went to college out of the parents. So,
Okay.
yeah.
And then it was
Okay.
me because my kids were definitely going to college. My husband and I both. I didn't go. Joe did a little bit and dropped out. And no, there was no way.
Mhm.
There was no way. They had
My
no
daughter-
choice.
My daughter had some influences. I think they were more outside influences. We just always told her she had to go to college, whether it was community, online, on campus, no matter what, she had to go. But influences outside of the home, she had a few that I think that she spoke with other kids in higher grades and the school itself, bringing in all of the colleges to talk to the students. I think that also was a good influence for any of the kids.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So what do your kids want to do once they complete college? Do we know?
Well, I know
that's what-
mine. My Isabella, I have one who is going to graduate next year. So I have 2 actively in college right now. So the one that is a junior, she is in marketing. So she's already has 2 internships, and she was just offered a permanent position with her first internship. So marketing.
Hmm.
So, and then my little one, she's still but she's going to be a teacher. I know she is. She's going to wind up being a teacher. I just know it.
You're a proud mom.
I am.
That's
I
good.
am.
That's good.
It takes a lot
Melissa?
today's day to do it.
My daughter is going to school for film and editing in North Jersey.
Okay.
So hopefully she comes out as that. If not, I have no idea.
Brian?
All right, let me go run down. The oldest stepson was business, and he works at Boeing. So he was business administration, so he is there and doing business work for Boeing. One graduated from a school in PA, and he's not doing anything for his major right now, but he seems to be doing okay for his jobs. No, my son went to school for HR, and he's actually working in business at Wawa.
Mhm.
So my youngest one is pre-med at Widener still. So that's to be determined on how he finishes out. And then I have one that's an electrician. He did actually leave school, and that's why I went to the to the trade school option.
Mhm.
School, college was just not for him, and can't push a kid to college, and that's not what he wants to do. So,
Mhm.
and then the youngest out of the whole bunch is at LaSalle, and he's a history major. So, to be determined on that because he's only a sophomore.
Okay. So
Yeah,
it's diverse.
very diverse. Yes.
So what would you say as parents when you hear, people talking, water cooler talk, that college is overrated? Do you think that's true? Or not? And why?
I think it's overrated, and this is just my opinion. I think it's overrated because I'd rather take something that's more. If you work in the field for 10 years, or even 4 years, we'll just say 4 years for school. I'll take somebody who worked in the field for 4 years than somebody that went to school for 4 years for the same thing. I just think the work experience just blows school out of the water,
Mhm.
in my opinion, and just my opinion only.
Sure. Well taken. Ladies?
And I agree with that. I'm in management all day long. From a I don't have any degree. And when you're sitting there with some of these people with degrees, it's like, wow. No offense, you have the degree, you just might not have the mindset,
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree. I think it's more about experience.
Yeah. And the honesty is well taken, and I appreciate that. Melissa, what do you think? You're on mute. There you
Sorry.
go. All right.
I think it depends on the person and what they're going in for. I mean, I have a 4-year degree, thank you, Tom, but it's gotten me nowhere. Now my daughter's going, and she's and she's paying a big price for it. I just hope she does go somewhere. And like Marge said, there's a lot of people that don't have degrees and have gotten further than the people who do have degrees. So I think it's per person, per career, really. A lot of the classes that some of these colleges make you take that have nothing to do with where they're going and what they're going to be experiencing, that's a ripoff. But again, I think it's per
Second.
person.
Want to be honest.
Second.
Yeah.
I second I have my junior who states the same exact thing. She's like, college is a business, and it's truly a business. All
Right.
these classes that are unnecessary for the major that you're in.
Mhm. Yeah. No, I totally get it. When one doesn't, when somebody doesn't know what they want to do, hey, Brian, like to your point, do the trades, right?
Yes.
But you can think it, but write it down, right? Write it down, make a column, whether you have parents or yourself, do an Excel spreadsheet, write down the pros and cons. When it comes down to it, again, the return on investment. If I'm an electrician, a plumber, here are my projected numbers. I'll go to school for 18 months. Hey, long term, I'll be in good shape.
Mm-hmm.
I won't hold you up too much longer, but let me ask you this. Let's get back to the finances. Do kids really understand the aftermath of the finances of going to college, right? They all not all, get caught up in the gotta go, she's going, he's going, I want to go, the experience, so on and so forth. I had to sign the dotted line a few times, right? But tiptoe to the end. Did he really understand that? And who should there be more guidance? I don't want to put words in your mouth, but just share with me what you think about that. Go ahead, Marge.
So no, I don't. I think I'm going to say no generally overall, but I think to the extent is the each individual. So my oldest, she had to have everything. She had to have the experience. She had to study abroad. She had to do all of this at any cost. She's now, working, doing everything, but she's still paying back those loans. And she's like, Mom, I really didn't realize how much this was going to be. So again, the second I didn't need to pay, but the third is now paying. And she was very much involved in the process. I made them very much involved in the process. I showed them how, like, this is your loan, this is your grant, this is what you're gonna have to pay back. So by the time you're done your degree, this is where you are in the hole. You're coming out of the gate in debt. But they were adamant that they could take that debt on and they would work and make sure they pay the bill. So, but I did make sure that it was, reviewed with each and every one of them.
Good.
They are paying, they will pay them, but yeah, I would say my first one really, she thought she understood it and she didn't. And now when she's making that
Right.
monthly payment, she's like, wow, I could be going vacationing if I,
Yeah. Melissa, you gonna say something?
So I agree. The school, even though they do prep them and have them fill out forms and try to give them a scenario of what a typical college costs, I have my daughter, her and I sit down together, we fill out the FAFSA every time together. I show her what's still owed. We're in our junior year now. 1 year
Wow.
she lost her grant and scholarship. And I showed her how much of a difference, what that cost. And then I had to take that out, the parent loan.
Mhm.
And I showed her exactly the difference. When you lose this is what happens. This is how much more we have to put out now out of our pocket.
Mhm.
So she has an understanding. She sees it. It's on paper, but I don't think they're going to get it until the 6 months out of school after graduation, and those bills, the monthly bills start coming in, and we're showing them. I mean, I don't think they feel it. I don't think anybody would really feel it or know it, at the age of 18, 19, 20, and 21, until they actually physically see the difference of what $500 a month is going to cost them versus their waitressing job, when they're out of school and don't land a job yet. But again, per career, some people may be going into an internship and land that job and may start out at 25, 30,000, but yet their student loans are up to 100 grand. So these young kids, I don't think they do get it, unless these young kids are on their own, have been living on their own since, a certain age, and know it and feel it and know what their finances already are. But these kids, they don't know what their finances are. They have no clue yet.
Yeah, and I get that, and many of you know my background, but since I do this all the time and through many positions prior in the academic arena, it's just mind-boggling that there needs to be more of an understanding. Again, tippy-toe to the end of your degree, amount of money that's going out the door, but it could be beneficial. Brian, we're going to say something.
Yeah, actually, it's, just my situation at the time. You do know this. With my two, I have 4 stepsons and I have 2 of my own sons. My 2, 100% knew exactly what they were getting into, because I'm the one that had to fill out the FAFSA. And when a certain parent does it, they don't get enough money. So I sat down and explained to them, since I make too much, that, you're only going to get a certain amount of money. With my stepsons, my wife sat down and went through them, and they still understand. Like, my youngest one's now teetering on, or my youngest stepson is teetering on whether to stay in school or not, because he's kind of like, I don't know if I want to keep taking the loans on.
Ooh,
So,
and what point is he in again? What
he's a sophomore at
sophomore.
LaSalle. Yeah.
See, that's a good point. Everyone wastes a lot of time, but to piggyback off that real quick. So, you get into something in that situation and you have incurred debt already, right? So then I hear what you're saying. It's just tough that, unless you finish, right? Sure, he'll incur more money, but that's a tough situation sometimes.
Yeah, don't incur the debt if you're not going to enjoy what you're
Right.
going to do later on.
Right.
I mean, I have a degree in radio broadcasting, and I'm doing cybersecurity as a Scrum Master. I'm not even anywhere close to what I was going to school for. So
Right.
things
Right.
change.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a great perspective. I appreciate you all joining me for this session. Last but not least, so wide open question. What would be your advice to parents, not kids, because, you know, they're listening to this. What would be your advice to parents now having gone through it once or twice or 3, 4, 5 times? And that's a wide open question. What would you, what guidance could you give them?
I think it depends on the parent relationship they have with their child. If they're very close and stringy with each other, I would recommend not going too far, you know, from home. There's kids that are born independent and can just go off anywhere and land a school somewhere and be away from mom and dad. And there's some kids that just can't handle that and it's too stressful and they may need, you know, maybe 2 hours away is good. It just depends on your relationship, I feel. And then also knowing what they're going into. Can they handle it can community college work for them? You know, or will a university work for them? Technical schools, you know, cosmetology and hair and, you know, why would you go somewhere except a tech school or community college for something like that? Don't waste the money, save it. There's a lot
Yeah.
of different advices that you can give to a parent. But again, it all depends on the family structure and how they are with their children and their finances and their careers.
And that's a good point. So just to piggyback off that real quick, when kids don't know what they want to do and they explore the trades, you know, I think it's always been the case, but job layoffs, right, and buyouts and all those things that happen in the corporate world, you know, going into a trade could be a safe bet. Cosmetology, right? The hair, the whole, you know, the whole thing that will never go away. And your field, right, in the medical, the hospitals, and I know they have some structuring realignment sometime. I get that. But sometimes a safe bet is a good bet. Barge, you gonna say something?
Yeah, I agree. I just think if I had to give any advice to a parent was just to I've come across so many parents that kind of already have it. I guess the kid has no say, so they already have
Wow.
their vision planned out
Mm.
for their child. I think it's very important that you listen to your child's vision and guide them and gear them, you know, to their what they want to do, not what you want them to do. And then also within that, where you're guiding them, offer them support, show them both ways, you know, show them that, you know, it could work this way. And if not, what are you going to do if it doesn't? What are you going to fall back on? So that would be my only suggestion,
No,
you know.
that's great. And because parents will be listening to this, I have to share one example. So I talked to a mom about 3 years ago in a parking lot at a grocery store. We just got talking, and the point was, she said, "Boy, I wish I would have talked to you a couple years ago." And I said, "Why is that?" She said, "My son got accepted to university, and he always told my husband and I that he wanted to do trades. I forget what trade, and he's really good with his hands and so on and so forth. And he didn't want to go." And she's like, "Well, you know, we finance this, finance that, yada yada yada, spend a lot of money." And then when he graduated in May, right? So he said to them, "I'm going to technical school in August," right? So I said to her, all due respect, we will never see each other again. I'm not even going to give you my card. But what's the moral of the story? She's like, "I don't know." I said, "You didn't listen to your kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you wasted all that money. You got to listen." To your point, March, to your point. You got to listen,
Mm-hmm.
support them. Ryan, were you going to say something?
Yeah, don't force your kid into
Right.
going to school, and don't. And if they do want to go to school, my suggestion is just there are so many loans out there and so many the loans that you don't have to pay back. And Tom, you know a lot about this, that
Yeah.
go for them. My
Yes.
kids got a ton that I'm just like, just fill out the paperwork.
Yes.
You know, throw it against the wall, see what happens. Let's buckshot it, throw it,
Yeah.
let's see what goes on. Even if it's $100 here, $200 here. I mean, that's some books. That's
Let me
not a lot, but
piggyback.
it's some books.
No, that's a great point. So let me just piggyback off that. There are programs out there from the government that when that kid graduates college, if they volunteer, and I'm just the terms I'm making up because it changes all the time. But say, for example, it's not easy that if your child wants to reduce those loans and or have them all cleaned away, wiped away, they have to volunteer X amount of hours a week, month, times a couple years. It's not easy, but they look at it as though they're giving back to the community. It's a nonprofit. They're typically single with, the demographics of not going down the whole relationship path yet in the house and what have you. So when parents ask me that, I'm like, you look for it, right? Just make sure you go to a .gov or .org site, not .com.
Right.
Do your Google search, you put in your words, and there's lots of information out there. But here's the problem. Parents don't do it. And or the kids, right? Both. They don't do it because it's too much time, it's too much paperwork. They rather bust their chops and go work and pay off the loans. When in turn, it's a great resume builder too, right? That you do.
Mhm.
Go ahead, Marge.
I have to say that as one of the things, so that my first time going around, none of that information was ever discussed at any of our, college fair type of things. It's always like, you can apply for financial aid, you can apply for this. None of those programs, none of those websites, any of that was ever open for discussion for parents.
Wow,
saying
our
that.
school sent them home with the kids.
Wow.
Mhm.
They had a whole list. They had 2 pages of list of all of these different loans that the kids had to go click in and check each one out. The school gave it to them.
Brian, was your school like that? Your kids' schools?
Schools. Which I had mentioned, they had an evening class for parents.
Yeah.
They handed it out, but they didn't really explain what to do after that. They just said, here, it's the initiative that the parents have to take in order to get the money, and same with the kids too. But yeah,
Sure.
no, I agree with Melissa that it was there. It's just that you have to take it to the next level, and some people just don't do it, and that's what you really should do.
And we could talk all day, and obviously we won't. But again, but why is that though? In general, each of you, the disconnect, for lack of a better word, between the schools, the colleges, parents. Like there's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of information that if they just plugged in, X, Y, and Z to formulate a better picture for you and your kid, right? You may have been able to make better decisions. Not that you did, but an informed decision is a good decision. But why do you think that is?
Because they don't have those classes at school. I think when you're a junior and you're getting ready to start into your college prep type of, realistically stop and look at it. Can you balance a checkbook? Do you know what your stocks are? Do you know any of this type of real world stuff? None of that's really discussed on a day-to-day basis, like in these schools. So why not have something like a college prep class where you kind of review different stuff, review the finances, review your options, do different loan things, prep them, start doing the essay writing for all of these type of things for these kids.
Yes,
So
Melissa.
my daughter's high school, that's all they did, was everything that
I'm
Marge
coming to your
just-
daughter's high
I
school.
know, right?
They started their junior year.
Wow.
They started their junior year with how to the finance end of it, how to look for the loans, how to look for the grants. Then they actually did the whole SAT things, and then even during the college prep course that's mandatory that they all take, they started the essay writing. So the entire year was on that essay, their college entry essay. And what was it that they all had to go on to? The Common
Core. or
Common
App.
Core.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. So all of this stuff was done their junior and senior year. really all of the parents, the only thing parents had to do was make sure they went through each of those loans and those grants and those scholarships, made sure their SATs were, they went to the classes and they took their SATs. The school basically handled everything.
Wow.
All we had to do was pick the college and do the tours. The process was very smooth.
Depends on your district, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah, yeah, yep. Now I heard that because of COVID, the requirement for SAT scores is not required, although there's some gray areas or
Yeah, I heard
depends
that
on
too.
by school, right?
Yeah.
And it's more on your application or your essay, right? To sell yourself. Yeah. All right, listen. What, Brian?
Oh, no, I agree with you. Yep.
Yeah, okay. All right, well, listen, I'll let everybody go. I do appreciate your time, and hopefully the next parent will look at this and get their wheels turning and be able to learn something from it. All right, guys, till next time, all right?
Excellent. Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dr.
Thanks.
McGuire. Appreciate it.
All right, talk soon.
Bye.
All right, bye.